I was getting me a different gavel. It is so nice to see everyone show up for all these committee meetings this morning. We got 5 of them starting shortly, and hope all of you will stick around. I'm just kidding about that. You can leave after the important event. We are very honored today to have the swearing in of District 3 Commissioner, Mr. Gary Richardson. Happy to see that. We do have some other special guests here. We have another winner in the recent runoff, Miss Jody Lott, will be going to Atlanta to represent District 122. And Jody, congratulations. At this time, we'll turn this program over to the Honorable Probate Judge, Miss Alice Pageant, for the swearing in of Gary. Gary, if you want to bring with you, certainly feel free to do so.
I'll come back here. Raise your right hand. Go the right. All right. We have a couple of long oaths, so we'll get through it, okay? All right. You'll repeat after me. I, Gary Richardson, do swear or affirm that I will well and truly discharge the duties of Commissioner for all matters which require my official action, best of my knowledge and skill. I will act as in my judgment will be most conducive to the welfare and best interest of the entire county. I have been a resident thereof for the time required by the Constitution and laws of the state. I do further solemnly or affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money to the state or any political subdivision or authority thereof. That I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States, any other state, or any foreign state. I am prohibited from holding by the laws of the state of Georgia. That I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution of the United States, laws of Georgia. That I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state. One more, a little short. I, Gary Richardson, citizen of Columbia County, being an employee of Columbia County and the recipient of public funds for services rendered as such employee, do hereby solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Georgia. I need a couple of signatures. I get to do the fun stuff.
Like to say a few words?
Yes. I just want to say how much I appreciate Columbia County, the citizens of Columbia County, employees of Columbia County, and the Commission of Columbia County. I think we've got a wonderful county and a great place to live. I am just excited to be a part of us moving forward, and do look forward to doing that. Thank you very much.
There's one item that I'd like to get on the record, and this was certainly to Gary's consciousness about impropriety. In the past, he has had a verbal agreement with, I think, a couple of county departments for discounted car washes. And I think the water utility and getting trucks and all washed at half price. Well, that's over. There are no other agreements that would lead to any suspicion of anything out of the ordinary. County employees are certainly welcome to use the services of Mr. Richardson's businesses. And also, county employees driving county vehicles may, at their discretion for convenience, use them also. But it's the full rate, and there's no further discounts. So, Gary, I appreciate you bringing that up to us. I think it was very honorable on your part to think that something might be said. So we thank you for that, and we thank everyone for being here, and please come up and congratulate Gary.
At this time, I would like to ask the newest member of this Board of Commissioners if he would introduce the person who will be doing the invocation for us.
Yes, sir. My pastor at West Acres Baptist Church is going to do the invocation for us this morning, Pastor Larry Harmon. Thank you, Larry.
Gary and Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to be a part of a special day. I'm very proud of this man. And I know I'm supposed to be praying right now, not giving a speech, but I had to just say thank you, Gary, for allowing me to be here today, and look forward to seeing how God is going to use you as he uses all of you to make this county even greater than it already is. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning. What a great way to start today. To be able to come in your presence, even here, Lord, as we know you go with us where we go, prepare the way for us, and you guide us. Lord, whenever we are uncertain, when we're not sure what to do, where to go, Lord, we can trust you to be our leader and our guide. You have proven that to us in so many ways. Lord, I believe one of the reasons, if not the most important reason, this county is known throughout this country, throughout the world perhaps, as being a strong county, a county that's growing, a county that people love to come and be a part of and live and call home, is because, Lord, you have been given permission to lead us and to guide us. And Father, I pray that you'll help us to remain that way, that we will trust you, we will love you, we will follow you, and as we look at our great county that you blessed us with, that every day we'll be thankful for you providing it for us. And then, Lord, also providing men and women, individuals that have been called to lead, that are leaders not because necessarily only because they wanted to be a leader, but they are a leader because you called them to be a leader. And Lord, whenever you call, you equip. And I thank you so much for how you have equipped these leaders, and I thank you for how you're going to use them in the days to come to make this great county even greater. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it, to call this home, my family being able to be raised here. Lord, I give you every day thanks for that. Now, Lord, you know the agenda that they have before them, and I pray that you will help them today, but not just today, every single day to come, that they will see you in the midst of their decisions. They will follow you and trust you. And at the end of the day, when they place their head on the pillow, Lord, they'll be able to say thank you for what you have done. So, Lord, we give you all the praise and all the glory, and thank you for allowing me to witness what I have today by placing Gary where you have. Use him mightily and powerfully to be pleasing and honoring to you, as I know he will. We love you, Lord, and thank you so much for your love for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I move we put him on the payroll.
I was going to suggest a retainer, sir.
We'll have the counselor and Ms. Reese look into whether we can do that. I would also like to ask the Commissioner if he'd like to lead us in the pledge for his first committee meeting.
Pledge allegiance.
Both very much. Reverend Harmon, you were invited back any time. All right, we'll go to the roll call.
Right.
For the first time in quite a while, we have a full commission sitting in on this committee with a quorum. Therefore, I will ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, I guess. Now then, approval of the agenda. Any adjustments to this, ma'am?
No.
Nope. We will move straight then into the debate agenda and the new business and the draft reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you several reports from our internal auditor, and then also we will discuss our external audit results. So first, we would like to call Mr. Rick Evans.
Good morning.
Up, he's up. Look at that, that was quick. I'm looking around for you, and you're up there. You appeared.
Things done like this, so.
It's amazing when auditors just appear like that.
Those accountants are sneaky.
Bonnie and I are starstruck this morning thinking all these people were here for us, but
Sadly mistaken.
there are 4 reports before you, and I know that's a lot to digest, read through, and so I'm going to cover what I would refer to as the takeaways in each of these reports. And let's first look at the clerk of court. And I will direct your attention to page 3, and that's a summary of the results on pages 3 and 4. Actually, I think, 3 and 4 encompass the summary of our audit results. And the takeaways in this, I think, deal primarily with cash on hand and the inability to identify who certain amounts of cash that are held belong to. The clerk of court acts as in a fiduciary capacity and actually holds a number of funds on behalf of someone else. It's not their funds. And this has been a repeat finding in your external audits and your internal audits over a period of time. Now, there was one account that concerned us the most. It had over $700,000 at June 30th. As of today, we're happy to report that those funds in that account, it's a condemnation account where there's a dispute on condemnation values. They've actually provided us with a report by property and amount to show us what those accounts relate to. So that's a good start. They're working on the other accounts, but as I said, it has been a finding for a number of years in the external and internal audit, so it still needs some attention. The other takeaway in the clerk of court's office is there are a number of outstanding checks that have been outstanding for a long period of time. That was something else that we requested that they address as part of their ongoing fiduciary responsibility over those funds. A lot of those checks appear to relate to jury duty checks that people haven't cashed, sitting out there for a long period of time. So, any quick questions about clerk of court? Those were the takeaways that I would say should pay closer attention to.
What is the normal procedure for checks that's written that have not been cashed time-wise? Is there a limitation on their validity?
I don't know the legal ramifications in this case, if some of them are set by the courts, the disbursement is set by the courts, but I would say a 6-month, anything that goes 6 months out ought to be at least addressed by the department.
And we have some longer than that.
Sure.
Is it possible to put a restriction on our checks stating not valid after a certain period of time? Is that legal?
That is a very valid option.
That's something we could look into at least? Legality of it and,
I believe our checks, not the constitutional officers, but ours say void after 90 days.
And that's the issue, is the constitutional officer is maintaining an account and then issuing those checks. And I'm not sure that we can direct a constitutional officer to mirror our policy. As a matter of fact, I know we can't.
But we could ask the auditor to make that suggestion, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
We'll follow up with that.
On the garnishments, and that large sum of money that's out there, the way I understood it, we really didn't know where the money was, whose money it was, but somebody garnished somebody's check or something, and so it's their money, but we need to figure out how we can get it to them. It just didn't seem quite right to me to not be able to know where that money was.
A lot of the funds that are set up as special accounts are set up because they have to be segregated from county funds, and they are held many times because the judge has to give an order to disperse those funds. We did not find any problems with the reconciliation of the accounts and so forth. It's the real issue is providing a list of who those funds or what case those funds relate to. So that's the real issue, is chronological listing of who those funds are actually due to.
questions regarding the clerk of court?
Okay, the next report is on facilities maintenance department, and let's.
Well, we had coroner next.
Oh, did you? Okay.
It's
All right.
pretty quick,
I'll
though.
go in your order then. Let's look at coroner. This is a first-time audit for the coroner's office. We've not done an internal audit on this in the past. We looked at 3 areas, just their recording logs, their employee payroll, and the purchase card transactions. Not a lot of activity there. We tested the, payment of the coroner and the deputy coroner by cases and their expenditure of funds. And we found had no exceptions in our process. I couldn't get my audit group to take an inventory. I couldn't understand why.
I was going to skip
Count it with
over.
humor.
I was going to skip over the fact that there wasn't a lot of activity at the coroner's office.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Now facilities maintenance, please.
Okay, all right.
Unless there are any questions about the coroner's office. Please proceed.
Okay. Page 3 in the facilities maintenance, and I'll direct you to 3 items there. Purchase cards. There was one instance where we found there's a policy when you have an expenditure over $2,000, you're required to get 3 to 5 bids on that. And we noticed some lighting projects where there were multiple projects and they were split up so that they would be under the $2,000 threshold. And we've just made the recommendation that combine those as a single project and get. So that recommendation was made and has been addressed. Work orders, that was another area that we looked at in terms of tracking. You need to look at this department almost like it's an internal service fund. It's almost like a business. We looked at it like a business, and work orders and inventories we feel like ought to be traced just like you would in, say, a car dealership or a repair shop. And so, those were some suggestions we made in terms of making sure that work orders individually were tracked. I think they do an overall review of the flow of work, but not necessarily on monitoring individual work orders to see that they haven't gotten caught up in the system. There's waiting on parts that are housed inside the department. So that was one of the recommendations. And then the other recommendation was a formal tracking system for inventory of supplies. We made that recommendation, and they have now said that they would do an inventory, a full-scale inventory, at least twice during. Any questions about facilities maintenance? Okay. Tax assessor's audit. This was first time we've done an internal audit on the tax assessor's office, and it's quite comprehensive, as you will see. There again, starting on page 3 is a summary of the results of audit. And the takeaways for us there, that you can read through the many areas that we looked at. We had no specific exceptions that we found. What we did note that, they met minimum standards for appraisals, and they had met all their certifications. But it appears that they may be somewhat understaffed in terms of, they've met the minimum standards for staffing, but evidently they're doing a very efficient job with the staff they've got. One of the areas that seems to probably be lacking is ability to, on a regular basis, look at your personal property tax, for them to audit those personal property tax. When I refer to personal property tax, I'm talking about motor vehicles, business properties, those kind of. Being a CPA and seeing a lot of personal property returns, I know that that's a task to monitor those. So if we were going to make a recommendation, I would say it may be a hard look needs to be taken at manpower, and does that department have the available manpower to, and somewhere in the report, I can't recall, but if you look at the number of properties that the county has,
Page 6.
it's 16 appraisers responsible for 70,029 property accounts. That's just real estate. And then you go beyond that when you start talking about personal property. So, that being said, the minimum standards for the state of Georgia have been met. However, I think it's always prudent to, as the county grows and we expand and many more businesses are coming into our county, which is a wonderful thing. But I think you have to stay on top of tax assessor's office in terms of them being able to meet the demand. The county is collecting all proper taxes. Any questions about tax assessors?
They resolved that issue about the manufactured housing digest.
Yes, that was another point. They're going to make sure that that's submitted on a timely basis. That was not submitted by the January 5th deadline this past year, but
I think it wasn't requested.
no, that's right. It was a request to defer. So they're going to make sure that takes place. As for future internal audit projects, there are a number of projects that are already on the board that we've been in the field and completed the field work. The reports are in the process of being prepared and reviewed and acknowledged by the various departments. Those include procurement department, street light fund, probate court, sheriff's department, and public transit and senior center. And field work is ongoing currently in the hotel motel. As you may recall, we select certain hotels each year to be a part of the process of the hotel motel tax audit. Information technology and some upcoming projects that we have on the board is GIS, broadband, and of course, at any point in time that there is a request from this board, we would be glad to honor that request and make sure we make a priority of auditing that department or that activity. Any further questions?
I will add for the committee that we've had a recent meeting with Mr. Evans and his staff, Ms. Reese and I, discussing how in-depth and how thorough the internal audit is. And we feel like they're doing a good job for us as far as going in and looking at all the accounts and looking at all the fiduciary things that are in each department. But we want to take that a step further. We're going to ask them going forward to be a little more thorough in that process, to look at more of management of the department, to include interviewing employees in the department, just seeing if there's ways for additional efficiencies or things that we can do better. So we're going to take a little different approach going forward with our internal audits, and hopefully that'll start with some of the next ones we do. We've got a little bit of paperwork that we need to do and some things, questions that we won't ask, but they're going to do that for us, and that'll be another set of eyes that'll be able to respond back to us how these departments are actually functioning that we may not get to visit on a regular basis.
Previously, our focus has been on financial-related activities. And hopefully these reports, as I read through them and reread them, my hope is that you get a better understanding of how these different departments operate and what the pieces of the puzzle are from a financial standpoint. But Scott and Leanne have brought about another dynamic of operations, not just financial operations, just operational efficiencies. And so that's what we'll be, as well as financial aspects of.
Very well.
Thank you again.
Chairman, if I could,
Yes, sir.
as a sitting commissioner, I want to thank you for this. It really helps me go through this and understand better the functions of each department. I look forward to drilling down a little further and looking at the management organization. I think it really helps us do our job better. All the
Thank you.
hard work by all of ours.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Rick. Merry Christmas, Rick. Thank you, sir. We move to finance. Ms. Cox going to be making the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'm going to cover for you your financial statement external audit results today. Y'all that have seen me present before, I have a tendency I can talk fast. If you want me to catch up on some time, I'll be happy to do that. But also, I do not take offense at interruptions. So if you would like for me to slow down and go further into something that we're going to cover today, please just interrupt me and I'll be happy to do that. I also have with me Jessica Cawley, who's over here from my team, who also headed up and managed the audit for us today. All right, so I do have some required communications that are in the professional standards that require me to communicate certain audit results with you, which I'll be doing that today. Also going to cover the professional standards. We have some changes in our profession and the rules that have to be followed, both on accounting and on audit, and we'll cover that. A couple of minor recommendations, and then more importantly, if you have any questions, then I will stop talking and listen to you and address those questions. All right, most importantly, annual audit, we're ready with a clean opinion, a clean audit opinion on the financial statements. That was our plan going into the audit, and we are ready to issue that clean opinion on the financial statements. A couple of things following up. One of the things we always do is follow up also on things from the prior year, and GFOA, which is the Governmental Finance Officers Association, which issues the CAFR Award, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, that your management worked so hard in putting together. Those definitely were proactively addressed and have been reflected in the current year, 2015 CAFR, as well as having the new accounting standards implemented there. So those are all positive things to report as a part of an audit. The words that you can hardly see on that screen because they're in green, and I apologize for that, but the words just basically spell out the professional standards that we follow. U.S. Generally Accepted Auditing Standards. Those are the standards that are followed. There are different ones out there, for example, for publicly traded companies, but obviously for government, those aren't applicable to you. So it is the U.S. GAS, Generally Accepted Auditing Standards, that we follow. We consider internal control, but we don't opine on it over the financial statements there. That is, again, is a difference between the U.S. GAS and other professional standards that are out there for publicly traded companies. But at the end, overall clean opinion. Okay. All right, we also follow government auditing standards, and what that does is it brings in some compliance testing. It brings in compliance testing over compliance with laws and regulations as they impact your financial statements, as well as covers OMB Circular A133, which is what we talk about this year, and I'll cover what we're going to talk about next year related to that. But OMB A133 is what covers your federal spending. Because you do have a portion of federal grants that come through the county, then you are also subject to those standards there. Both of those audit results-wise for both the government auditing standards and on A133 there, no material weaknesses, no noncompliance, clean opinions there. As far as the federal grants that were tested, this year it was the disaster grants, the FEMA spending from last year. I know that all that did fall into last year's the majority of it, most of the dollars fell into the fiscal 14 financial statements, but because of the rules and the way the compliance testing is done and the way that FEMA specifically states when it shows up on your schedule of expenditures of federal awards, that testing happened in this audit. But clean there, we didn't have any issues to report there. Okay, additional required communications to you as the audit committee members. We did not have any difficulties in working with your management, getting our audit done, or getting the information we need for the financial statements and disclosures. We did not have any disagreements with your management as we were conducting our audits or our inquiries or asking for audit evidence. There were no transactions out there that were, call them weirdo, that there wasn't appropriate authoritative guidance to be followed. If there were, then I would tell you what your management did in trying to follow that guidance.
And a technical term?
It's a technical term, yes. I use it often.
For now.
Significant estimates that are in your financial statements that are also a part of required communications. Allowance for doubtful accounts, that's any receivable that you out here, you have to put an allowance against it. That is an estimate that your management determines. The depreciation of your capital assets, how long are these your capital assets going to last you, and what periods you're going to depreciate those over, again, as an estimate, as well as your landfill post-closure costs, how much it's going to cost you to close the landfill there, that is an estimate. Those are the significant estimates that are in your financial statements that your management has determined and we've tested. All right, management, they sign to us what we call a representation letter, and that is where they sign a letter that tells us that they were truthful in our inquiries. They did not withhold evidence that would have been relevant to either the audit or the financial statements there, and we wouldn't issue an opinion without your management signing that letter to us. Neither would any other CPA firm. It's part of our professional standards. To our knowledge, your management is not consulting with other independent accountants. If we are aware that your management was out there kind of, I guess, weighing audit opinions against each other and comparing what one auditor thought against another auditor, then I would tell you that. Your internal audit function, we know that they work with them, but internal audit functions generally do not fall under the independence criteria for accounting and auditing and attest work. And again, no material weaknesses there. We've discussed a couple of recommendations with your management. We had a couple of recommendations related to the clerk of the court, just kind of piggybacking off a little bit of what Rick said. This is and the reason I'm going to do this is because it's a perfect example of the difference between an internal audit report and an external audit report. An internal audit, they obviously go into a lot of detail, and they're looking at the detailed records. When the clerk will report the financial statement piece of it, there's a balance that says cash and cash equivalents, and a balance that says due to others. And that's it. And that's what we test at the financial statement level. And as we were looking at that, there were a couple of things. Internally, the clerk uses QuickBooks to maintain their accounts. And there are a couple of accounts that don't have a lot of activity on them that were not included in that QuickBooks report. It didn't have a lot. The recs were fine, and I think it did speak to it. But how Rick's recommendation was looking into the details of exactly who that money was due to, that's exactly what they're testing for and doing. While we're looking at the financial statement level saying, okay, are all the cash accounts there, and do they all just show up as due to others? And so that was one of the recommendations there that we have with the clerk. But also a good example of the difference between what we do and what they do. Okay, professional standards changes. Now this, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time just so that you can be the most interesting person at your holiday parties, so that you know what's going on with the profession of accounting. GASB 68 and 71, financial reporting for pensions. If you've been to any of your constitutional office or governmental officers association meetings, I'm sure that you've heard this term more than any other GASBs probably that have been out there. But this relates to the pensions and the impact that it's having on local governments. Columbia County it's impacted in two different ways, and we'll cover that in just a minute. But this was implemented in your fiscal 15 financial statements as required. So for some governments, they're having to pull on, the ones that do have defined benefit plans, they're having to pull on a liability for that future net pension obligation that has been committed and promised to the retirees, or for current employees that are in those plans. Because of the plans that Columbia County offers as a county, none of those are on the hook for the county, and so they meet the criteria of what's called a special funding situation. So what that means is that you do not, at the county level, have any additional liability that had to be recorded, but there are some additional disclosures that are in the financial statements. So it's disclosure because the county's not on the hook for the money, although there are employees that are participating in these statewide plans, primarily sheriff, clerks.
Yeah, I was going to explain that. It's primarily in the constitutional officer areas. The fire department has a state plan. So these are plans that the county does not participate in any way. We don't contribute to them. It's totally voluntary by the employees. But this new GASB does require us to disclose those plans in our financial statements.
Okay. Now,
Not on the hook for them, why don't, help me.
oh, the GASB.
Because there's a lot of men, old men in Washington
Hey,
that
watch
sit
it,
around
watch it.
making up these rules.
Very uncool.
I'm sorry.
I think the idea is to kind of just have a one-stop shop so you can see where everything is, even if it's not.
Even if we have no financial
Yeah.
liability.
That's the,
Simply because they are employees.
Yeah, they are our employees.
Yes.
Got that part.
And Leanne and her team did a really good job at determining the material effect of that and kind of put it in, it's kind of snapshotted into one page instead of adding a number of pages, which could have gotten a little crazy. But the Board of Health, however, does have a statewide retirement plan that the employees and that the Board of Health does contribute to. And so because the Board of Health qualifies as what's termed a component unit and is included in your financial statements, it's a separate legal entity, but it is presented separately. You will see that they have been allocated their portion of the net pension liability from the Georgia Employee Retirement System. And so those disclosures are in there. So for the county itself, it's just required disclosures. There's no additional liability. But for the Board of Health, you will see that net pension liability and those disclosures and required supplementary information from the actuarially calculated tables that are in there.
Can you repeat that?
All right. Another set of standards that are changing or have changed and are impacting your management and also will impact your audit for next year. I mentioned OMB's Circular A133 previously that governs the federal grant money that's being spent. That terminology has been changed, and there is now what's called OMB Uniform Administrative Requirements for Cost Principles Audit Requirements, Uniform Grant
Slow down
Guidance
just
for
a little
short.
Take a breath and slow down. You're running your words together.
Okay, OMB Uniform. Now I forgot. I can't say it slowly.
A133.
A133 is the old word. Uniform grant guidance is what we're going to talk about going forward. Uniform grant guidance is what is applicable to all federal awards that have been awarded after Christmas 2014. So your management has been tracking whatever new awards that have happened under this new, and they have to follow the new cost principles and the new guidance that's out there for all awards issued after December 26, 2014. And the audit requirements kick in, which we'll call Subpart F, kick in your next fiscal year. So your management kind of has a year of complying with the new guidance and the new rules, and then we come in the next year and audit compliance with that. It does mean that your management is having to keep up with two different sets of rules, because the old standards still apply for any awards that happened before Christmas of 2014, and then new cost principles and requirements follow the new awards going out there. So that's the challenge that your management has, but next year we'll talk about Subpart F instead of A133. Covering the same thing. What that means as far as next year's audit, right now there is a statutory requirement of reporting whether we've determined to be material or not of noncompliance greater than $10,000, and that threshold is bumping up to $25,000. I mentioned earlier we had zero reporting anyway, but the statutory reporting, whether it's deemed material or not, has gone from $10,000 to $25,000. It also increased the threshold, meaning in any year that you spend less than $750,000 of federal money, you will not be subject to the audit requirement. Previously, under A133, that number was $500,000. That threshold was bumped up to $750,000. So that may impact the county depending on how much spending happens in any given year. So your management's got to be tracking this, figuring out what's going under the old rules, what's going under the new rules, and we'll be looking to see that they are doing that. It may impact some of your grant writing because those cost principles have to follow the new standards instead of the old standards. And then to come down the road, they've delayed some of the implementation of the procurement changes, but that is to come down the road also. Next year, GASB 72 goes into effect, and that may also add some pages to your report for disclosures related to fair value as Leanne rolls her eyes. But that will, again, add some disclosures related to fair value. It mirrors some of the requirements on the commercial side of things. And so we will be looking at that, but your manager's already looking into that. So, if you hear nothing else, clean opinion, on time, and we do work diligently and a lot with your management to get the audit done, and with Leanne and Lance and Angie primarily, others across the county, but those are the primary people that we work with, and we wouldn't be here today if they had not done their parts to be there. But we report to you guys, so contact information is here. This is not the only time that you have to talk to me, so I'm open to discussions at any point that I can. Stop talking now, fast or slow, and see if there are any other questions that I can address.
One? Ms. Cox, very well done. Thank you. Appreciate you being so thorough and making every effort to get through it as quickly and painlessly as possible. But we also appreciate all the work that you guys have done in your office. Thank you very much. Okay. Leave. That brings this committee's business to a close. Any comments? Or being none, a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Favor? Do we need any time? Do we need 2 minutes, 5 minutes, no minutes? 2 minutes.
Just a couple of minutes, just to move
A
it.
couple of minutes to recycle the PowerPoint and possibly coffee. So how about, 9:21. Let's do blackjack. All right. Go ahead, sir.
9:21.
Gotta go get snackers.
This is a good introduction.
Bananas.
Really, I'm being serious. Really
Good job.
good
Good, you?
shot. Movie.
Yeah.
We rounded off to 9:25.
Very ready.
We're very ready. Okay, we got a long day ahead of us, so let's go ahead then. I will call to order the Management and Financial Services Committee for today, December 8th. Having already had a very eloquent invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance being dispensed with, we'll move right into roll call quorum. Once again, very happy to have a full committee, all three members present. May I have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, if you see fit?
So move.
Second.
I think we
And
got to get back to the committee structure.
That's what I was going to say, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it's okay for the other commissioners to sit up here while we're having the committee, but the committee will be taking action on the items that we have in place. So the committee will hear the items and vote on the items.
right, so,
We need a second.
well,
Here, so
he
we
can't
can't-
second,
wasn't
he
here.
can't
That's
second
right.
minutes, so.
I was here, that's why I seconded.
Well,
I don't think we
but
can.
you weren't on the
Yes.
committee, you were just present.
Commissioner Morris, you were here.
I was even called upon that point.
You were called upon by the member. I'm sorry, not the member, Mr. Cross. All right,
I got the motion to get on.
second, let's go on. All right, any questions, any changes to the agenda? Morning. We will move on. No presentation, straight through consent, straight through debate, or to debate. Mr. Johnson, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item we have for your consideration is the 2016 Financial Renewal Amendment to the Administrative Services Agreement between United Healthcare Services and Columbia County Board of Commissioners. This is the agreement that sets forth the administrative costs for our health care plans. We negotiated these. We feel good with these, and staff would recommend approval.
Move for consent.
I do second. We always seem to have such good luck in a world where, or in a country where a lot of organizations are not having luck with their healthcare negotiations. I would like to commend everybody in HR and on the staff that works for that, because having seen other programs, we definitely are coming out of this very well.
I've always said, Mr. Chairman, that luck is where preparation meets opportunity, and I think the preparation of our staff, they've done an outstanding job to negotiate these and to keep our health care costs down and to have a plan that's really, really good for our employees. They should definitely be commended for the work they do.
Yes, so kudos to all of them. Thank you, sir. Next.
You can participate from now on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So actually, I guess we do need a second then.
I'll second.
All right. Move forward. Next, sir.
Mr. Chairman, for your consideration, the next item we have is revisions to our comprehensive policy manual. You'll see here that there are several. Hopefully, you've had an opportunity to look through these. There are 12 in all. I can go through them individually, or I can answer questions about any of them. I can say that they have been approved by county administration, and we are comfortable with the changes. Some are made because we've changed other policies in the past, so it made the policy manual conflict. So we had to go in and clean that up. But as you all know, our comprehensive policy manual is a pretty large book that we were able to put together that really covers all the policies of the Board of Commissioners. So it requires revisions from time to time to make sure we're up to date. Other ones have to do with changes in the law or just other changes that we needed to update language in a particular situation. So staff will recommend approval of the recommendation to amend the policy manual by approving these revised policies. Again, I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, does any of these things need review by the county attorney, or is this strictly internal policy?
These are internal policies that we have in place. We do consult with the county attorney. There are a couple here that actually the county attorney worked on. So the ones that we feel like we need to kick to the county attorney's office, they do review those and then give us back. So Mr. Driver has written some of the language and some of the revisions you have in front of you.
Every one of the changes and omissions are highlighted in the blue.
Yes, sir. And they'll remain that way until you approve it, and then we'll accept those changes and make it part of the policy manual.
I would just, curiosity, a summary of 4 and 5, the service recognition and then flowing into the date of hire service changes. What was the impetus of that?
So we actually had a policy that was already in place that allowed employees, if there was a break in service, if you were a county employee for 5 years and then you left and then you came back and you served another 5 years, we would recognize you for 10 years of service. We can do that because we don't have a defined benefit retirement plan. We have a defined contribution plan, so you're only going to get back what you contribute and what the county contributes along the way. But we did want to recognize employees for service to the county, and that service to the county could be over a 20-year period, although it might have been 10, and then 10 years passed, and then 10 years, more service. So we've already approved that policy, but there were a couple of policies in here. The date of hire and service recognition policy that actually had the break of service in there, a definition for break of service. It's really no longer relevant because we had the other policy that we passed that recognized their total service to the county.
So I can do my 8 years as commissioner, come back 12 as janitor, and
Have 20.
my 20. Thanks, sir.
Which doesn't mean anything at all to you, but I move for
I get a
consent.
nice little pin.
That's right.
I'll second.
I move for consent, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. So that goes to consent. Next, sir.
Mr. Chairman, for consideration, next item we have is a request from the Superior Court judges for an additional supplement. I believe, as you know, Columbia County, Richmond County, and Burke County all make up the judicial circuit here, and each of those counties pay a supplement to our Superior Court judges in addition to the state salary that they're given. In the past, Richmond County has been given a $40,000 supplement. Burke County has been given a $5,100 supplement, and Columbia County has been giving a $20,000 yearly supplement to our Superior Court judges. That $20,000 came about, the first supplement we did for the judges was in 2000, and then they came back in 2007 requesting an additional supplement. So we did $10,000 in the year 2000, and then $10,000 in 2007. They've come back requesting an additional supplement again of $10,000, which will make our total contribution to the sitting judges $30,000 should this committee and the board approve it. The reason they've done this is because there's been a change in state law that effective January 1st, there can be no additional county supplements to Superior Court judges. This has to do with pay inequities across the state. Some counties are giving more. Some counties give more supplements than we do. Some counties don't give supplements at all. So you have Superior Court judges that are really all over the board as to what they make, and the legislature wanted to take a step to try to mitigate that and work on the state side. So the recommendation that we have before you today is to approve the additional $10,000 supplement for the sitting Superior Court judges. It will not apply to the senior judges, only to the active Superior Court judges, and that it be approved now in this calendar year prior to the change in the law, but it'd be effective in a future fiscal year or fiscal years. And what I mean by that is you could break that up if you decided to. You wouldn't have to do 10,000 all in one year. You could make it effective in subsequent fiscal years, should you decide to do that. I will just bring to the attention of the committee today that our Superior Court judges are currently hearing our misdemeanor cases in Columbia County. Some counties have a state court, and we have looked at the cost of a state court, and by the time you add the judges, the staff, you have the space, you add a solicitor's staff, that could very quickly get into the in excess of $1 million to start the court, and in excess of $500,000, $600,000 a year to maintain the court. So as long as our Superior Court judges are hearing our misdemeanor cases, I think we're in a little better situation there as opposed to spending that money or outlying that money. We also have our probate judge who hears our traffic. Our magistrate judge certainly hears cases that they can handle in their court. But the Superior Court judges are handling misdemeanors in Columbia County. They don't do that in other counties.
And we are speaking of 8 sitting judges, so actually at the $10,000 supplement plus our existing 20, it's $240,000 is really roughly what we're supplementing.
That is correct. That's what we pay a year for Superior Court judges in Columbia County. The rest comes from the state.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is probably a good thing, particularly in the light of those judges doing duty the same as a state court. But I think it should be moved on to debate to the full board.
I'll second that.
So that'll move on to debate then, and we will decide the details then. Next, we have the proclamation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for your consideration, the staff would ask that the Board of Commissioners issue a proclamation for Columbia County's 225th birthday celebration. That will take place on December 10th, which is this Thursday night, in the courthouse in Appling at 7 p.m. So everybody's invited to attend that celebration, obviously. But the Historical Society has worked on this particular event and has asked for a proclamation. We have a draft proclamation available to you. We'd like to work on that and clean it up just a little bit, but we would like to go ahead and get the approval by the committee to issue the proclamation.
Move for consent.
Second.
That'll move forward then. And resolution.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the next item you have is Resolution 151194. This is regarding county-issued purchasing or credit cards. Again, based on a change in Georgia law, now counties must have a published policy, and in our case, pass a resolution to be able to issue credit cards to elected officials. We've never had a problem with this in the past. Our elected officials have done a very good job of complying with our policies and staying within their spending limits. Even the constitutional officers who have their own budget, they did a really good job of reporting this. But I think the legislature took action as a result of some other metro counties abusing credit cards. So they passed a law that said that we have to have a publicized policy in place. We spent a lot of time working on this. Mr. Driver, the county attorney, has worked on this. He's been in contact with the constitutional officers. I will tell you that there is a little bit of pushback from the constitutional officers, not that that they don't want to do it, because they have been willing to do it, but I think, and Mr. Driver and I've talked about this, the actual the Board of Commissioners issuing a policy saying that constitutional officers must comply with certain spending practices may be unconstitutional. Well, that'll be something for the legislature to work out. Ms. Lott's here. You're hearing what I'm saying. We may have an issue with an unconstitutional law. But at any rate, staff would recommend approval. We have to pass this if our elected officials are to use credit cards after January 1st. So staff would recommend approval of the resolution and the adoption of the policy.
Well, I mean, the legislature has already created the law saying we have to create those guidelines.
We have to do it.
I guess they didn't
or not issue cards.
Right. I guess they didn't specify that, or that we had to include constitutional, so that could be the rub.
Well, it does say elected officials. It does not say just commissioners. It says elected officials. So the question of constitutionality comes in there. But we're comfortable with the resolution we have. We've spoken with our constitutional officers. We feel like we have a good situation here in Columbia County, so we're fine going forward with what we have. I think you will see I think you'll see some steps in the upcoming legislature to get this law changed a little bit, primarily from the Georgia Sheriff's Association. I've had a conversation with Mr. Norris about that, and I think they'll probably take some action.
Okay.
I move for consent with a comment if it gets a second.
Second.
Yes, sir.
There's no requirement that any of these individuals have a county credit card. So you decide just more trouble than it's worth. You can charge stuff on your own credit card and then get reimbursement for county expense.
You could, or you could issue a purchase order. There are other methods of doing that besides just having a credit card.
Ms. Reese, or I guess Mr. Evans is left, is it, as a constitutional officer, do they have it in their authority to issue their own cards within their accounts, or is that not?
Not within their accounts, because, as was explained earlier, all these constitutional officers are just agents.
Right.
It's not their
They
funds.
still have to fall under the commission's,
Exactly.
same thing, okay, according to this law?
The question just really comes up with the Board of Commissioners having oversight for funds that have already been given to a constitutional officer. And some of them are very sensitive to that.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second, so that will move forward. All right, and now merit recommendations, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For your consideration, the staff has looked at the budget for next year, and as you know, when we passed our fiscal year 15-16 budget, there was no funding for merit adjustments for our staff. We've determined that our revenues are adequate and our expenditures are stable. Actually, our expenditures are under what we've estimated at this time, and the staff does a good job of underspending the budget, you all know, every year. So we have a surplus that we're able to continue to use for other projects. So based on that, staff recommended the following percentages be considered this year: a 3%, a 3.5%, or a 4%. This recommendation is based on, if you look at history, we went back and took a 10-year look. The commission in the past, I know prior to 2005, there were times that we would give 5 and 6% raises annually to our employees. Of course, things change, obviously. 2006, 7, 8, and 9, we gave 4%, and then, of course, we hit some of the hard times. We had to really tighten our belts as well, but we were able to come up with 2% in 10, 11, 2.5% in 12 and 13 and 14, and then last year we were able to give 3%. When I say give 3%, these are merit raises, so they're based on the employee's evaluation. Anybody that is not meeting expectations or not doing the job, they didn't receive a contributor level on their evaluation, they would not receive a merit raise at all. These are for our employees that are doing a good job. And when I say 3, 3.5, or 4%, what I'm asking you to do is to pick a number that you're comfortable with, and then we would apply that number to the amount of open positions that we have. So hypothetically, if the sheriff has 150 employees, we would take the salary of those 150 employees times 4%, and that's the amount of money we would give the sheriff, and then he could allocate that money as he would see fit. But for the Board of Commissioners employees, we would take that amount of money that we have and then and give it to the employees based on their merit.
If we were to say 3%, that is going to be our, again, speaking for internally with the Board of Commissioners, that is not would that be the maximum raise, or is that the average amount? So we could have 4 for every 2, or vice versa.
So what happens is, the problem that we run into with that is you have some departments that are very small. So when you do it that way, and we've done that in the past, where we'll say we're gonna give 3, and then some employees can get 4, and some other employees can get 2. That works well if you have a department of 100 employees. But when you have a department of 3 or 4 employees, you have to take away from one to give to another. And we don't do it for vacant positions, so there's no additional money. There's no, well, if we're short a person, we get that extra 4% and we can divvy it up, or 3%, we can divvy it up. So what ends up happening is most employees will end up with whatever percentage that you come up with. There are instances where you can set a cap. You can say, we're going to do a X amount across the board, so we're going to allocate this amount of funds, but no employee will receive more than 5% or whatever 6%, whatever you wanted to say. And then we'll allocate those. Now, the one thing that you'll do today is once you come up with a recommendation, or you decide what the percentage is, staff will then work between now and the commission meeting to put those raises in place, and for the commission meeting, you will have a spreadsheet that will show you what every employee is making and what the raise would give that employee.
Questions? Discussion?
I move that we recommend the 4% as the basic average for the raises.
Thoughts, sir?
Well, if there's no second, that died, so
I was
whatever
going
else
to say,
comes up.
is there no second?
I was saying split the difference at 3.5, but if,
Well, you'd like to make an alternative motion?
substitute motion of 3.5.
So now what we do? I guess,
You need-
I have the opportunity to make that second.
You need a second for that.
I'll second the 3.5.
All right, you vote on the amended motion first, or the substitute motion.
Yes. Well, the first one died.
That's right, there was no second.
Right. So we now have a motion, I guess, to send it to debate. 3.5, it must go to debate.
What we would ask, Mr. Chairman, is that you set this today. We'd like you to make a motion and a second to set this today. And it really doesn't matter where it appears on the agenda, because you're just setting the amount today.
Mhm.
And you could make it consent if you decided you wanted to do that, unless you wanted to debate it. You could obviously do that if you wanted the full board to debate it. But we're going to work on the spreadsheet, and we'll have it. And unless I have some inclination that there's an alternate to the 3.5%, then of course I'd have to make 2 spreadsheets for the board to debate.
So
and
we
then-
need 3 votes to get that 3.5.
Right. Or somebody can make an alternate
Decided
motion
today.
at another point if you
Gotcha.
put it on debate.
Gotcha. So,
If you don't get to 3 votes, it automatically goes on debate.
That's correct.
Or somebody could request outside of this, correct?
I don't know that that's appropriate, is it?
I think you could. I think any commissioner can pull any
Can you?
item off of consent.
That's not the question. It automatically go to debate.
Oh, if it doesn't get,
It
yes,
calls for a vote, and it's 2-1.
that's correct.
Right. So, I guess then, all in favor of that 3.5% across the board? All opposed?
We'll debate that, and I think from what I hear, from what I see here, I think probably the best thing to do is for the staff to come up with 2
Alternatives to plan.
spreadsheets. You'll have one at 3.5%, what 3.5% would look like, and you would have one at what 4% would look like. And we'll have both of those recommendations for debate, and then the commission can decide, the full commission can decide next Tuesday.
All you can do is make an Excel spreadsheet where change one number and it changes the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right. A bit of excitement up here. Gary brings,
Right, we're getting
Gary's bringing some
I
Buster.
ju-
The wood in the first.
I would just, I'd like to know a number of what it would kind of be. If
Right, the
I
total
don't know what
cost.
3.5 would be now, I don't know what 4 will be, I don't know what 3 will be, so
understood.
I think it'd be something good
Yeah.
to look at.
Commissioner Richardson, there's your spreadsheet. That'll show you what it would cost in every fund for a half a year and what it would cost after. Obviously, this being your first day, it's very difficult for you to get a book handed to you and then be able to vote on something. We understand that. So you can look at that information and then make a determination.
Well, I'm good with where we're at, and we'll, all 5 talk about it
Okay.
next Tuesday night.
All right?
All right, moving forward then. Nothing from Mr. Kennedy? We'll go into financial services.
I have a few contract amendments for your consideration. The first one is with the juvenile court. It is the independent contractor agreement for their CHIN's prosecuting services. Charles Evans is the current contractor that fulfills this agreement. They are requesting that we just simply extend the expiration date from December 31st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016 to coincide with our fiscal year. No change in any of the terms or money or anything like that.
Move for consent.
Second.
Thank you. That'll move forward. Next.
The second item is a similar situation. This is the independent contractor agreement for program director services. Ms. Margaret Adams currently fulfills that agreement. Again, they wish to extend the expiration date from 12/31/2015 to June 30th, 2016 to coincide with our fiscal.
Move for consent.
Second.
Thank you. That'll move forward. Next.
The next item is a bid that was previously approved at the October 20th Board of Commissioners meeting. This is for misdemeanor probation services for magistrate court. There was a discrepancy in the rate within two of the sections of the contract. One section stated that it would be $30. Another section stated $35. The correct amount is $35. So we're just requesting that the contract be amended to correct the changes for the probation fees.
Move for consent.
Second.
Very much. Any legal matters, sir? Nothing on the board? Staff reports, administration.
First item we have for you is our FY 15-16 personnel savings. As you know, in the budget, we set a goal of $350,000 to underspend our budget by to help us balance our budget last year. I'm proud to report that we have already met and exceeded that goal by $35,798. What that means for us is from January to July, any money that we realize in personnel savings is actually budgeted dollars that we will underspend our budget by. So as we continue to look at every position that comes available, as we have hiring delays in place, as we restructure or move people around or reassign duties to people to not fill positions, this amount will go up. I have no doubt that we will, well, obviously, we've already met our budget goal, but we'll probably be very close to doubling that budget goal this year based on the efforts of the management review team.
Doubling it?
I'm sorry?
You doubling it?
I think we'll be close to doubling it. We may not get there exactly, but we'll exceed $500,000 in personnel savings. And again, those are budgeted dollars that we will underspend.
Questions? All right. Ms. Reese.
The first report that I have for your review is the budget report for the month ended November 30th. We should be operating around 42% of our budget at this time. I have included a list of some of the major funds on the rec sheet for your review. We are operating well within the budget. If any of the funds that are currently operating in a deficit, such as stormwater, that's only because of projects ongoing and the use of some reserve monies, so that was planned for and expected. And I will point out in the general fund, we are currently, and this goes to what Mr. Johnson was just saying, we've currently only spent 36% of the general fund budget as opposed to the 42% where we should be operating. A lot of that has to do with those personnel savings.
I have a question about that. When we show this on this fund, is the fleet fund part of the general fund expenditures?
No, the fleet fund is a separate
It's
fund.
independent, but it's not shown here, so you don't break the fleet fund out.
It's back in, it's
Okay,
not on
but
this
it's not on
page,
this sheet.
yes.
Okay.
Now, what is included in the general fund would be the lease payment, that intergovernmental
Right.
payment we make to the fleet
Right,
fund, but
okay.
not the capital
Okay,
purchases.
thank you.
Ms. Reese, if I can have, I'm sorry, the floor back. Any questions about that report? I apologize. I did miss another issue with the administration. It was not highlighted on the agenda, but it's the use of the county logo. Thank you for the reminder, Ms. Wells. Mr. Johnson, I apologize about that.
That was just a report. I believe that was the one regarding Columbia County Cares?
It's the county logo.
Yep.
Use of county logo.
That was something that Commissioner Morris brought up to us. We had a request from Columbia County Cares to use our logo on a vehicle that they're purchasing, and it'll be their expense. But since it was our logo, Commissioner Morris wanted to bring it to this body to at least discuss it, and I'll give it to Bill if you have anything you want to add.
Well, the board of directors out there met, very appreciative of the fact that the county is so supportive and provides them with a facility and so many things, support what they're trying to do, which is to reach out to people in the community that are less fortunate. Dave Iverson, the executive director, made a motion that this new truck that they purchased, highlight the supporters. There are some private supporters. The county is one of those. It was unanimously approved by the board of directors. I brought it to this body. Y'all were okay with them. Logo on the side of it.
There are other logos on there too. It's not just a county logo.
Yeah, I think there's, Potash, is that the name of that company?
There were several of their major contributors.
I believe they have sponsorships.
They do have sponsorship.
Primarily, but this is at no cost to us, correct? This is as a in-kind gesture on their part for our with them.
As long as there are other logos on there and it doesn't appear to be a county.
I think it's probably an administrative decision, but I think it was good of Commissioner Morris to bring it up to the board. So it's not anything that I think you need to really vote on, but unless you just tell me, that you don't want to do it, obviously I'll tell them no. But we're comfortable, staff's comfortable with letting them go forward with it, and appreciate them, wanting to highlight the county sponsorships.
Does it have any potential liability with the county name on that vehicle?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, well, I guess that, again, that's something the administration can work out with legal, and I don't see any objections from any of the commissioners to it, though. In general, I think we should move forward, and you guys can work out the details.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
There was an email with an attachment, showed the sign, I don't send that to you.
I don't have it either.
Maybe I've got it.
Maybe.
I'll try to find it and forward it to you.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, well, I apologize, Ms. Reese, we come back to you, excuse me for backtracking. The SPLUST update, my favorite report.
Yes, this is the report for the month of October. We collected just over $1.5 million, and our annualized percentage increase is 3%.
Less than September, we're going down with a month with more days. Or September also have 30.
30 days has September, April,
Yes,
June, and May.
so one more day and less income. I learned in accounting, I learned to count the knuckles. I just didn't want to do that here. There you go. I mean, I love this report. It never ceases to entertain me. Any comments?
Any plan by the state to
Our future legislator has left.
left the building?
She's learning. All right. I would encourage, in my absence for the meeting this week, unfortunately, when our board does meet and staff meets with the legislature, please, once again, bring this up.
We will.
I know you will. Wow. Anything else from any of the commission? Thank you, ma'am. Next report.
The next report is the November procurement report, just for your information.
Any comments? All righty. We are moving along. Any commissioner comments, public comments for this committee? You guys have a couple more chances after this. All right. We do have an executive session. If the members see fit, do we need to invite the other commissioners to attend? I think that would probably be a good move.
I think it would.
Do we need to do it at all?
I think.
I would recommend that we do attend executive session for these, for this particular item, for these items. They do involve personnel, specific, detailed personnel issues.
But they're going to be passed on to the full board when we can't have all in the discussion is my question.
All right, whatever the committee's pleasure.
Mr. Johnson, do you think it's important to do it now, or should we do it at the commission meeting?
I would like you to do it now, only if there's further discussion that needs to
Give
be.
you some guidelines to move forward.
Yes, sir, because I have a lot of work to do between now and next Tuesday to prepare this, so
I move we adjourn to executive session.
we'll try to be quick.
I'll second it.
Gary?
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
All right, thanks, sir.
Oh, yeah, works, by the way.
got my dad gone.
Yes.
Okay, I will call back to order the Management and Finance Services Committee, having just adjourned from executive session. Mr. Johnson, do you want to give a brief summary, or?
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, we discussed, I guess, a total of 11 personnel matters. No action is taken at this time, so there's nothing further to report.
All right. So, do we need to move that one item forward to debate or to the full board? Or do we need to agree to move everything to the full board?
Everything goes to the full
I
board.
guess we move everything to the full board. All right, so moved.
Second.
All righty, so everything will move forward to the full board. I think we're done with this committee finally.
Oh, you got one more.
Anybody?
Get the
We do have one more?
economic development.
That'll be moved to the full board.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's the 11th
Both.
one.
okay.
yeah, both of the major issues, major topics.
10,000 times.
Yeah, well, actually, we don't usually have executive session. Give us a little bit of a rest. It's been a long time since we've done committee exec.
In committee, we either pass it on to the full board, or we go in there and then we pass it on to the full board, so. what's the
But we haven't
difference?
gone in there and moved it on full board. All right, can I get a motion to get out of this mess?
Please,
Make a motion to adjourn.
second.
All right, we are adjourned. Do you need any time, ma'am? All right, 3 to 5 minutes. Well, okay, 1 minute, unless anybody
There are two.
needs more than a minute.
Two.
Anybody up here need more than a minute? Nobody needs more than a minute. All righty. Oh, yeah. I'm so used to that seat being empty, and it's going to take me some getting used to.
Right now.
By the way, Ms. Hall, I have missed your rather definitive sneezes. So thank you for sharing that with us today. Your signature achiews. Not trying to embarrass you, Aaron. Just want you to
Yes,
know that
you
you're
are.
appreciated.
Yes, you are.
He's not.
Hope he didn't quit on us.
I was going to say,
Run out the back door.
Back to that old man.
we may just be able to go straight into the next commission meeting after these committee meetings.
Potentially, yeah.
Oh, I need a weekend.
Oh, my.
Lions and tigers and bears. That was
Day one, he's already causing problems. All right, we will call to order now this Public Works Services Committee for December 8th. Having already had the invocation and dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance, we will have a roll call. Seeing that all three are present, we do have a quorum. Approval of minutes of the previous meeting?
So move.
Second. In favor? Aye. Any changes to the agenda, sir? Sir, we're good. All right, moving on. No presentations, no consent. Debate, we go straight down to Mr. Clayton and new business.
Thank you, sir. I have for your consideration the purchase of the skid steer loader. We received a quote from Bobcat of Augusta for a skid steer loader under the NJPA contract in the amount of $71,957.95. We also took some quotes on this as well from some other vendors, and we found this to be the cheapest price on that contract, and we would recommend approval.
Move for consent.
Second.
That'll move forward. Next, sir.
On December the 1st, we received bids for a 16-inch water line on Baker Place Road. The low bid was submitted by Strack Incorporated out of Fairburn, Georgia, in the amount of $1,516,188.93. And we would recommend award to the low bidder.
Move for consent.
Second.
I will say we had 10 bidders on that job. It's nice to see that amount of bidders back again. It's been a little while.
A little competitiveness never hurt. Next, sir.
Back in October, we approved a low bid for a 100 kW portable generator from J&T Services out of Lincoln, Georgia. And when we placed the order, we were notified by them that they had run out of emission credits. This is, this is a new world we live in. for that size unit, they had to, because of the fuel requirements, they had to have those credits in order to deliver that unit. Well, they offered to deliver a smaller one or a larger one, but I just felt like it was fair to the other bidders that had put bids in on that job to rebid this. So we would ask that we reject that bid. We've got time enough in the next 6 months to rebid it, and maybe they'll get some extra credits by the time 16 rolls around.
Move for consent.
Second.
Wow.
Yes, it's a new world.
All right, thank you, sir. Move forward, no legal matters on the agenda, and we'll go straight to staff reports.
As you'll see in our budget report, our expenditures are at 39% and our revenues are at 47%. I'm very happy with that.
All right, any questions, comments, rebuttals? Okay, next.
Next report is our construction projects that we expend extension and review money on, just for your review and the updates on what's happening with those construction projects, as well as a workload listing that shows the amount of work that we have accomplished in November. I thought it was quite telling that in November, as we get into the winter months, our consumption complaints went down to 50, where they're up in the 200s or 300s in the summertime. I think it's quite telling.
Watering of lawns?
Yeah, they quit, and so, consumption complaints go down.
Anything else? Any questions, gentlemen? Good on these reports? All right. Any public comments, commissioner comments? Seeing none. Any other business?
Executive session.
Oh,
I move that we move this option item on to the full board.
I second.
that'll move forward to the full board. So that having been dispensed, any other business? Being none, may I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Adjourned. You want the seat, sir?
2 minutes?
Is now.
I'm vacating. I thought you were chair of this.
Ladies?
I'm development and engineering.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Next.
They'll do some,
Chairman.
No, it should be.
do some name switching.
Oh, you're right. Community and Emergencies next. CES is next.
All right. I'd like to call the Community Emergency Services Committee to order. What is today? The 8th? Yeah, yesterday was Pearl Harbor Day, wasn't it? 8th of December. We have had our invocation, our Pledge of Allegiance. We have a quorum here this morning. Function adequately. Had a chance to look at the minutes from the previous meeting. We'll take a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Stands approved. Not aware of any agenda changes.
Chairman.
Nothing on the consent agenda. We go to the debate agenda and actually into new business with Community and Leisure Services.
Yes, sir. The first item is for a contract between Fishing League Worldwide and Columbia County for Columbia County to host the Bass Fishing League at Wildwood Park on February 20th. It's in the amount of $1,500 to be funded from the Hotel Motel Special County Projects line code. 200 anglers are expected to participate, and it's estimated of an economic impact of over $200,000. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Next, we have amendment of management agreement for BMX facility at Blanchard Woods Park.
Right, if you recall, at a previous committee meeting, this item was painfully removed from the agenda as John Luton had an extended absence and wasn't able to really review this contract. So he has since reviewed it, and we would like to move forward with it the way it is. It's a renewal with the current expiration agreement to end on December 31st. We're requesting for that term of agreement to be amended to June 30th, 2016 to coincide with the county's fiscal year.
Move to consent.
Second.
All right, that moves forward.
Okay, the next item is a request for the purchase of the Ballotar election system. And the way, what this actually does, it prints out absentee ballots on demand. And the way we currently do that is the Board of Elections has to order all absentee ballots ahead of time at an estimated cost of about $8,000. If we do it on demand with using this system, it'll have a savings of about $7,000 per election. So within a year, we would make up, within next year, if we used it for the whole calendar year, we would make up for the cost of this system, which is $20,935. The other thing I would add is that while this wasn't projected as a capital purchase, the funding is there to pay for this out of the current budget.
Move to consent.
Second.
Move that forward, and hopefully we'll get away with these special elections. No reflection on
As long as,
all right, expensive.
as long as no one quits.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kennedy. I think we go to staff report. No, any legal matters, sir? Legal.
He doesn't have
Apparently, no.
Staff reports, fire response summary report. Chief?
Mr. Chairman, for your information, I put in our fire response from up till now. We're approaching 4,000 calls. We get 3,944. I've also put in our monthly report for November. Since we were just here, I didn't see any to do December yet. And also, I put in for your information our year-to-date budget, which we're well within.
Very good. Thank you for those reports. Any questions or comments? Eddie? Any comments from the public or other commissioners? I don't believe we have an executive session.
No, sir.
Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Stand adjourned.
If I hear anything,
Okay. I need a deciphering ring so I can figure
Here
out.
come the hammer.
I need a deciphering
Hello.
ring so I can figure out how to read it. I'll let you see. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and call the Development Engineering Services Committee together. We've had the invocation, we've had the pledge, we have a quorum. Is there approval, you have the minutes from the previous meeting. Any comments or changes to those, or motion to approve?
Move for consent. Approval.
Second.
So moved. We also have a copy of the agenda. Scott, any changes?
Just that one item, I2E1A, it'll be an alcoholic beverage license. We would request that you would consider.
I-2-1A. All right, there's nothing on the consent agenda. We go straight to the debate agenda. Hearing services.
Thanks, sir. First one I have for you is actually a public hearing on a proposed establishment of 2 streetlight districts. That we've received petitions from the developers of the following subdivisions: Ashbrook, Section 10, Jones Mill, Section 2A. We have advertised this public hearing. We did send out letters to the owners. In this case, the developer owns all the lots, so it was just sent to the developer. So at this time, we'll open up to any public comments about this establishment of a streetlight district. I don't see the developers here, and they're the only property owner. They requested it, so we'll close the public hearing and make note that we received no comment.
Okay. Next item.
We have variance to Section 4245, flood standards and subdivision for tax map 039, parcel 082C. They're looking to subdivide this property into 2 tracts. Tract C1 will be for a church. There's no floodplain on this property. Tract C2 has an existing house. So we're looking to staff is recommending approval of the request for a variance from 4245 for this tax map 039, parcel 082C. But at a future date, if anyone is to do anything on tract C2, they will have to meet all standards.
Move for consent. Well, second.
So moved.
Next item for is a resolution to establish multiple streetlight districts. This will be for Jones Mill 2A and Ashbrook Section 10. We received a petition from the developer for those subdivisions. We do have a number here from Georgia Power for the upfront cost, a total of $6,554.66. We have received the contribution from the developer, $3,960. The staff has recommended adoption of this resolution to establish streetlight district and authorization for Georgia Power to proceed with installation per their proposals. And this is a debate item, will require 2 readings.
Correct.
Second.
So moved.
Next one I have for is acceptance of improvements and the release of a letter of credit for Kalari Section 1A. We have previously bonded this project. At this time, all of the improvements are complete. We are waiting on a last punch list item for a lift station. Water utility is keeping an eye on that. Should be done very soon. So this time, staff has recommended release of the letter of credit and acceptance of the improvements for Kalari Section 1A upon staff's approval of the as-built and warranty deed and the 1-year warranty period beginning the day the deed is recorded.
Move for consent.
So moved.
Next one I have for you is acceptance of improvements at Linsmore Section 1 at Canterbury Farms. So this request to accept all the improvements, which includes the road, water, sanitary sewer systems, all the rights-of-way and easements associated with these improvements, with the approval being contingent upon the final plat, as-built, and warranty deeds being approved by staff with a 1-year warranty period beginning the day the deed is recorded.
Second.
So moved. I believe that concludes your business.
I should have one more on
He's
there.
got one more.
Which one?
The easement abandonment.
Easement abandonment.
Stand corrected.
Tab 7.
Staff has received a request to abandon a stormwater and drainage easement at 450 Northridge Circle. There's a typo in my number here. Well, according to our maps on line system, the address is 452. But according to the property owner, it's 450. I believe 2 parcels are combined, so it changed the address. So my typo is, it should be 450, not 452. But they have requested that we abandon this. I have been on site with Gary Bennett to look at the easement. Staff does feel this easement can be abandoned without any harm to this property or neighboring property. So staff has recommended abandoning this 10-foot drainage utility easement on the rear lot line of parcel 072423A, located at 450 Northridge Circle.
Move for consent.
Second.
So moved. Now you're done. Paul, Development Services?
All right, the first one we have is writing off unpaid reinspection fees. When we ran bills for the month of September, how you enter your request for those bills determines your outcome. We somewhat ran across the area where we called for the billing to be printed out, and it exposed where some reinspection fees were not being pulled into the system. These reinspection fees go back to July of 2013. Gone through and checked the system to make sure how we run this from now on, that we're capturing all reinspection fees that have been performed. And staff's recommend authorization to write off past due reinspection fees a totaling of $900 for the 8 accounts that came up current in September.
So these people were never notified? Or
They were never notified, that is correct. And no fault of their own, you know, they were unpaid just because it didn't pull forward out of the software that we have as we ran our billing for each month.
I move for consent.
Second.
Right, and next item,
Hold on a second. So there's no reason to send out the request for payment?
well, being that it was our issue with our software, I felt like it was not requesting a payment on that, based on it was our fault.
Issue fixed?
Yes, corrected, yes, we ran through that with IT, gone through the system, and we run billing, it has been corrected.
So moved.
All right. Next item we have is alcohol beverages license, Sainth, Sainth Food Mart Incorporated doing business as Pumpkin Center. Sainth Food Mart Incorporated doing business as Pumpkin Center applied for an alcohol beverage license for off-premise retail package dealer for beer and wine at 1313 Apple Hardham Road. The owner and operating manager has provided all the required information and also posted the property. Due to the change we just requested last month, the way we needed to, the BOC needed to have a approval number to actually request criminal history. Being that that's not in place yet, they have provided all the information. We would like to move this forward to stay compliant with our county ordinances, to get the committee approval and then take it to the January 5th BOC approval upon approval of the criminal history.
Is this a new owner?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So we're starting all over with that?
We're starting all over
Location.
with that location. Like I said, as long as the criminal history comes back on time and there's nothing on that criminal history that goes from issuing that license, we'll request approval. You'll see.
Unrelated to the former owner, or
Right.
Can I ask a question?
please?
Says that the, posted a notice on the property. Where do they post that notice? Where it's supposed to?
It is typically listed, it should be, as you ride past there, you should see the notice sign out there. Haven't noticed one on
I
site?
rode by there yesterday and again this morning. I didn't see it. I may have missed it. Hearing you.
It's directly in front of the property, kind of in the curved portion of the traffic circle. If I'm not mistaken, it's an orange sign. I've actually,
That little bitty orange sign, is it? I saw the orange sign, but I couldn't read it.
an orange sign.
I thought it was somebody selling a lost dog or. Okay,
Okay.
I stand corrected as usual.
Do we have to have a license for selling lost dogs in Columbia County?
I believe it.
Okay.
This all goes out and verifies all these are posted when we get notice that they have been posted. She does go out and verify that has been taken care of.
And if there are any problems, nobody.
That's correct. If anything shows up on a criminal history, or if the criminal history does not come in prior to that, I mean, if it doesn't come in, then we'll remove it from the BOC.
So if we move this to consent, it'll appear on the consent agenda?
That would, on January the 5th.
But if there are problems, remove it from the consent
That
agenda?
We'll have to remove that, or request that be removed from the consent agenda.
Put on debate or just?
It has to be put on debate, I'm assuming.
You rather-
That
I would
be
think if
correct.
it's not done, you put it on debate and we'll
That's
make sure it's
I
done.
move to put it on debate.
I
Okay.
agree.
Second.
So moved.
All right, the next one is the 2016 alcohol beverage license renewal approvals. In September 30th, all the renewal applications have been sent out, and as of December the 3rd, license on the attached list, and you all have a list, there's approximately 125 locations on the list. There are still several applicants, there are about 4 here that are listed that had some outstanding issues that have not come into our office yet. The first one we did receive late yesterday afternoon, so that just leaves 3 of the existing alcohol license that we had some outstanding information on. As before the meeting next Tuesday night, we'll update this list, making sure all the information has been collected, that all the criminal history information is in compliant with the laws. And so staff recommends approval of alcohol beverages license renewal list.
And should this be a debate item, open issues?
I believe so.
Yes.
You'll have a new list for the commission meeting, so it's probably easiest to make it debate.
Move for debate.
Second.
So moved.
All right, the next item we have 16 alcohol beverages license renewal denial. We did have one application that did come back. The alcohol beverage license for Mr. Dixon came back that there was an item on his criminal history would not allow us to issue him a renewal to his license, and the items are listed there. We have started going parallel with this. Now we are doing a revocation, going through the revocation process for his license as it stands to date. When he was convicted of this, at that point, his license should have been revoked, so therefore we have started that revocation process. We were notified late yesterday afternoon that they would like to have a hearing at the next Tuesday's BOC meeting for that. So staff recommends denial of the renewal of his existing 2015 license for the 2016 year. So we're running this in tandem so that we don't have anything fall through the crack. we don't want to renew that license, and also we're going through the revocation process of prevent him from selling alcohol at this time.
Move for consent.
Second.
So moved. You have one added item?
Go through that now. All right, we have alcohol beverage license for WJ's of Augusta doing business with Willie Jules Old School Barbecue. Willie Jules of Augusta doing business with Willie Jules Old School Barbecue applied for an alcohol beverages license for on-premises retail consumption dealer for beer and wine at 3412 Old Petersburg Road. The owner and operator have provided all the required information. And this one too is caught up in that we don't have the number given to us yet in order to get the criminal history. So therefore, in order to stay compliant with our county ordinance, his application for a criminal history is not fulfilled yet. So we want to move, staff recommends approval of the license going to the January 5th BOC meeting. As long as there's nothing on his criminal history that comes back requiring that we don't give him a license, we'd like to move this on to debate for the January 5th BOC meeting.
Move for debate.
Second.
So moved. Nothing with planning services. Any legal matters? Staff reports.
All right, the first one we have is just the Development Services 2014-2015 November reports, and that's just for information only. And that gives you a rundown, both permits are up, inspections are up, and complaints are up. Pretty much what it spells out. Busy. The next one will be the November 2015 financial report, and that's for information only if you have any questions.
Any commissioners or public comments? We have an executive session item. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move these two real estate matters on to the full board.
Second.
So moved. Is there anything else that needs to come before this committee?
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman, if I may. I was omitted the past committee where it was appropriate, but I'd like to compliment Butch Holly on the Christmas festival Saturday. I think it went really well, had great attendance. Everybody had a great time. Appreciate the job that he's doing.
Any other comments?
I'd like to welcome our new commissioner. Forward to working with him. I've known this gentleman for quite a while and served just extremely well. Know that we're all here to assist you any way we can. We have a fine staff, good organization. Forward to working with you. Welcome aboard, Garrett.
Appreciate it.
Pretty welcome, Commissioner Richardson. Accept a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Done.
Good job, Andrew.
He's on it, isn't he?
Happy to be here to support everyone.
Amen.
Robert.
Oh, me and Gary, we don't have many like this.
Goodness gracious.
Once a year.